Hi everyone, I'm Patrick and I'll be trying to make a game in 7 days. So let's get started. So, day 1. The game is going to be called Red Knight. I'm going to keep it simple with hack and slash mechanics, a questing system and a currency mechanic. This is in the document over here. Feel free to pause and read it. It gives a little bit of background on the lore behind the game. So pause it if you want to read it. If not, continue with the video. So, by the end of day 2, I've created some mechanics. Very simple mechanics where you attack an AI and the AI follows you around, as you can see here. It may seem basic, but these are the foundations of the game. I followed a tutorial by Astrum Studio, and the animations I found on Mixamo, which is free, and it's a very simple process to import it into Unreal Engine. In addition, by the end of day 1, I have also started on an interactable object. So now, by the end of day 2, I have finished the interactable object with a widget where you can select a level and it will load you into it. Also, in the upper corner, it says the amount of enemies killed, idea being that you kill 10 enemies and you finish the mission. Also, on this day, I've de-childed the enemy object so it works properly. In addition, I've created a 10 mission idea. However, by the end of this, it got quickly scrapped. Maybe in the future video, I'll finish the missions. Who knows? So, halfway point now. It's day 3. And in day 3, I messed around with enemy types. And I added this frogman. The idea being is that it's a mutated monster that acts as a ranged enemy, flickering its tongue like a frog to attack you. I also modeled and added a basic sword so it looks nice. And finally, on day 3, I added some simple trees using a random tree I found outside. Just taking pictures of random trees, as you do. Anyway, that texture or that image was used as the texture for the tree. I used the Blender tree sampling, and the leaves are just a devil's ivy leaf from my own room. In addition, there is now some grass. However, later on, that does get remade. So yeah, that was day 3 for you. Now, day 4. I realized I completely overestimated the amount it will take to make the levels. So yeah, it's going to be just level 1. Also, you can now see the grass has been redesigned. Believe it or not, us computer scientists do touch grass, and in this case, rip it out of the ground and use that as a texture for a billboard. This is so that game can seem a bit more fuller using billboards, and it's not as performance demanding. Also, you can see the textures on the floor. Again, this is a random picture I took while I was outside looking like a maniac or an influencer. Depends on how you want to look at it. I also modeled a broken carriage. As you can see, there's not much to talk about it really. It's broken. The mesh is broken. You can see through it. Also, on this day, I made an AI that chases you only if you're within a certain radius of the AI. However, this, again, the carriage didn't work properly, as you can see. Of course, this does get fixed later on. Also, I've added a simple dialogue on day 4 and a new level with some modeled houses. I think day 4 was the most productive day, in my opinion. But yeah, what's your opinion? Nearly there, day 5. Looking at day 4, not as much progress as the previous day, but I did add a simple currency system and a death system. This then gets saved into the game, and it gets used to extract your deaths or the amount of money you have. Otherwise, it will just get wiped as soon as your player dies. If you remember on day 1, when I was very ambitious, I wanted the player to be able to buy some new weapons when they go into the home city, and for the home city to change based on the amount of deaths. And I was naive back then because I did not have anywhere near the amount of time that I needed. But yeah, either way, I implemented the death system and a money system. Also, as you can see, I expanded the terrain so that the Unreal Abyss is not as visible, and made the main base look a little bit nicer. Only a little bit, however. Oh, and I also messed around with the lighting, as you can see within the gameplay, where it shines a little bit differently. But at the end of the day, I decided that it's not worth it, and oh yeah, and I messed around with the lighting. But at the end of the day, I have decided that it was not worth it, as it was too much on the PC, and it just did not look good enough in my personal opinion. And I've also added a fancy menu with a little image on it, where the exit button doesn't actually work. So as soon as you load up the game, you're stuck in it for the rest of your life. Now, day 6, we're nearly done, nearly there, but not quite. So on day 6, again, this isn't as much progress as I wished for, and it's not as much progress as I made on day 4. But on day 6, I made some simple NPCs that can walk around the place. They do absolutely nothing at all, but just walk around and they look pretty. That's quite literally their whole job. In addition, I added another interactable object. This object will evolve into the market stall, if it can really be called that. Anyway, that is where the player will be able to buy a new weapon, and in theory and in practice, it would increase your damage and it would look differently, but let's not talk about it because I haven't implemented it. But it does take your money, so I guess that's a win, you know. Takes your money, doesn't give you anything back, like some game studios. Anyway, money in this prototype is earned by completing levels. In this case, you get 1,000 local currencies, 1,000 float points, whatever you want to call it, integer points, whatever, per level. I think it's an integer. Also, a little addition is an invisible wall. Nothing special, it's an invisible wall. Took a also, final addition for this was I took a random picture, again, being like a little influencer, of a grass, and I made that texture into the grass texture that you see in the game. Now, finally, day 7. The day I realized I completely underestimated this project and I overestimated my own capabilities. Anyway, this is all that was done on this day. So, I've updated the home city NPCs so that when they're close enough to each other, a greet animation would play. This would give a little bit more life to the game. I've also updated the attack animations. This is really something that I should have done on day 1, but I just decided not to do. But there's now 3 attack animations, again, just giving a little bit more life to the game. Also, if you haven't noticed, you can now walk in the game. You know, the thing that 90% of games have, you can do finally in this prototype. So you can also sprint by pressing the shift button, but the main animation is just the walk animation. Finally, I fixed the AI, so they don't just follow you outside, inside their own spawn point, but they actually follow you outside the spawn point radius. It really was a quick and simple fix. But yeah, that was everything that was done on day 7 and on the final day. Anyway, that was my journey trying to make a game in 7 days, and to be honest, I will continue this as possibly devlogs, most likely, and try to make a cool game out of it, hopefully. I do say that, but as well, I also, on day 1, wanted this game to be a lot better than it actually is by the end of the day. So we'll see how it all kind of pans out. Lesson learned, don't underestimate anything. And yeah, that will be everything for this video. I hope you guys enjoyed it. Leave a like if you did. If you want to leave some feedback, just use the comment section for anything and everything, as long as it is PG and platform appropriate. But yeah, have a good day everyone, and see ya.